Joel, start right off here. UNLV, Boise State on Fox on Friday. Ashton Jeanty made a run at the record book, but everyone's saying the Heisman race is already over and Travis has won it. Do you think that he deserves to be more in the conversation than it seems like Vegas has him in right now?
I think that he's definitely in the conversation, more so than Vegas has. I think that there's a couple of different factors. One is just the historic production that he's had during the course of the season. That's obvious. But then there's also this more darker side of the context, which is I think that there is some real palpable disdain for Colorado and the way that they've kind of gone about the last couple of years. Now, I think that that's wrong. Personally, I believe that winning the Heisman out of the group of five at a conference that is not on the Power Four level is going to be really difficult. Because let's face it, he didn't even, Barry did this in terms of his production and the record in 1988 in 11 games. So you can't just say like, oh, he passed Barry Sanders. It's like, well, we don't even play the same sport as we used to. So I thought it was going to have to rise to that historic proportion in order to get Jeanty through. Because let's face it, you don't know how many backs could go and produce near his level at the group of five level in the Mountain West. Whereas we know for a fact, nobody's doing what Travis is doing. He's a total unicorn. It's never happened before, and it probably won't happen, in the future.
What likely will happen in the future is ties go to Alabama. I thought Miami was better. Miami didn't get blasted. Miami didn't lose to a couple 6-win teams. Do you think Alabama, it looks like Alabama's going to get that last spot over Miami. Do you think that's right?
I do. If you look at, and listen, I understand it's a debate. And here's what I love about the playoff, and Nick, I think you would agree with me on this one as well, is that at least we're not arguing about a team that we really believe like, oh, they could be one of the best teams in the country, right? So right. At least moving this from the 4-5 debate now to the 12-13 debate makes it more palatable. Someone's going to get left out, and guess what? That's their fault. If you're Miami, you can't lose 2 of your last 3, including to Syracuse and Georgia Tech, and feel confident about getting in. Meanwhile, Bama certainly played a tougher schedule, and they've got much better wins. When you look at Miami's schedule, you just don't see the depth there. You don't see the quality opponents there. And you don't see any quality wins at all, really. And at least Alabama has those 3 wins over top 25 teams, including the win against Georgia. That's going to carry the day. Whether we like it or not, I think that that's going to carry the day on Sunday night.
All right, do you think everyone freaked out justifiably about Ohio State's loss to Michigan? But they can still win the national championship, at least in theory. Do you think they can still win the national championship?
Yes, I would say this. Let's put it this way. If you gave me $1 and you said I can split it up however many ways and bet on teams that I think could actually win the national championship, I would bet 50 cents on Oregon, 25 cents on Texas, and 25 cents on Ohio State. I think those are the 3 teams that can actually win the national championship. Everybody else, their flaws are too great. I know that everyone's going to point at that Michigan game, but there are like deep-seated reasons why Ohio State just lost to Michigan. That was completely out of character for Ohio State. It's not like they tried to play their game and got beat, and it's just that was totally out of character, guys. What we saw in the third quarter in particular was pretty staggering in terms of not targeting those wide receivers. And after the Will Howard interception in the middle of the third quarter, they got 10 offensive snaps the rest of the way. The last 20 minutes of game time, they got 10 offensive snaps because of their conservative play. So I'm not as up in arms about the Ohio State loss as some in terms of what it means for them moving forward. They're still one of my 3 teams that I think could still win it.
Joel, you mentioned Travis Hunter earlier. We're talking about the Heisman. Do you think that he can play cornerback and receiver in the NFL?
No question. And in fact, I think it's tailor-made. The NFL, it's going to be easier for him to do it than in college. And I know that sounds crazy. I get it. That sounds crazy. But just bear with me. He's going to be more valuable at corner because it's harder to find corners. If you got an actual legitimate number 1 corner, you play him at corner. And he's not probably because of his size, a true number 1 wide receiver, and maybe even not a number 2 wide receiver. He can be a number 3, though. And as a 3 wide receiver, you're only playing 30 snaps anyways. So he's going to reduce his number of snaps just by being a number 3 wide receiver. I think he absolutely plays both ways, and that's the way to do it.
Is his quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, the number 1 quarterback in the draft?
Yep, and I think that there's no question. I think those 2 players might get selected 1 and 2 in the draft. I think Shedeur is going to be the top pick in the draft, and he probably should be. He controls the game and understands the game and comprehends the game at a different level. His accuracy is incredible, and his toughness is incredible, and I think that's something that evaluators are going to love.
I was going to ask you, Joe, how do you evaluate a quarterback making the jump from college to pro? Because it almost looks like a crapshoot because it's so hard to predict who's going to make that jump.
And Joel, you have 45 seconds to answer that very complicated question.
You know what, though? I don't think it's as complicated as it sounds. Number 1 is the ball on time and on target. And in order to do that, you've got to have the requisite skill, but it's not about arm strength. It's about arm talent. So you've got to have the ability to change speeds and understand the pace at which you throw the football and have the accuracy to do that. And then you've got to have the control mentally of the game in order to control the game from the pocket. When you do that, you can play at the next level. Then it becomes about the fit at the next level with the coach that you play for. And when you got that, you've got Bo Nix and Sean Payton, and it works out.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.